Wow, what is that coming down from the clouds in the sky here in central Illinois? Glory be to God in the highest. Wow, wow, wow. We need the rain. The rain has arrived. Hopefully, it will provide some relief to the crops and the farmers. They call it $1 million rain. Hopefully, well, and with inflation, the Biden inflation, it's probably at least a $10 million rain. We hope that there's adequate rainfall throughout the central Illinois area and that our farmers, who we obviously care about deeply here in the central Illinois area, get the sufficient amount of moisture they need to continue the growth of their crops into this growing season. Yes, it is the DPB show. I'm David Paul Blumenshine. Appreciate you guys joining me here on Sunday afternoons from 1 to 3. So much happens between Sunday to Sunday. And you know what the most important thing that happens on Sunday mornings is, for me at least? I go to church, and I believe I have a whole message prepared ahead of time on what I'm going to cover in the 2 hours that I have with you. And once again, you can join us via Facebook Live. There's a chat room there. We have the text line at 309-451-9299. You can see it. It's scrolling across the ticker on the Facebook Live, just in case you forget the number. Thank you, Kevin, across the way for doing that. But we would love to hear your input. And once again, here I go to church. I have an idea of what I believe I'm supposed to cover and to bring to you on this Sunday afternoon. And bam, just like that, the Holy Spirit just convicts me. And it's something that I think we need to talk about, because I know that a lot of you are feeling like I do. We feel demoralized at times. And it's easy to be that way, right? Especially if you're somebody like me who is tried and true, a conservative, a Christian conservative. I should always preface that by saying I'm a Christian first, conservative second. And I happen, based on politics, I vote the Republican ticket and have most of my life. And I have been very transparent that there was a day gone by in my earlier 20s that I did vote for a Democrat by the name of William Jefferson Clinton. And, the reason for that I've given, and maybe for another show at another time, I can go in depth into more of that, especially knowing what a lot of people are confronted with when they're looking at life as it surrounds them. But getting back to being demoralized, that is the playbook. That is the playbook of the radical left. And I'm going to get to the conviction part of it by Pastor Timothy James Farrell, who you just heard prior to the DPB show on The Victorious Life. And he was talking about some of the items, or some of the topics that I'm going to try to weave into today's show within the context of what I thought I was supposed to be sharing with you here today. But the demoralization of our culture and our society, this is what I think we need to keep at the forefront. The radical left has no ambition or inclination that they're going to win any case they bring against Trump. Obviously, they continue to rinse and repeat. And it is textbook playbook right out of Sal Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, the Communist Manifesto. If you have not read those two pieces of literature, see how nice I was there, Kevin? Pieces of literature, propaganda, whatever you want to call it, which gets to my point of being demoralized. That's the essence of those things. Now, I would much rather you spend your time, because we never have enough time while here on God's green earth, to study and understand Holy Scripture, the Holy Bible, basic instruction before leaving earth. That's the acronym for Bible. I think that's kind of a neat acronym. But I want you to know your playbook, right? Or know your opponent's playbook. The radical left is driven on demoralizing you. That's what everything we see, whether it deals with our public school systems, the border, national security, um, the way they go about trying to gotcha to Trump. The walls are closing in. It's a bombshell, breaking news. We've got him now. I was telling Kevin on our way here into studio that it is kind of like Warner Brothers, the Roadrunner, right? And Wile E. Coyote. It's just perpetual. Every day, every waking day, we are going to find something new coming out of the radical left. And that's why they call it progressivism, because they progress. They never stop. They're never going to stop. And that's why our good friend, God rest his soul, Rush Limbaugh, said they've got to be defeated. There has to be an ultimate battle, confrontation that will happen. And maybe that's in the spiritual realm. Well, it is in the spiritual realm, not maybe. It is in the spiritual realm, but in the physical realm, we've seen it walked out on this earth over and over again. And we're seeing a little bit of that with President Donald J. Trump. He is once again under indictment. It is purely for political theater. They don't have anything within the court system. Once again, it's no different than what the Durham report found out. We've got a complicit DOJ, Federal Bureau of Investigation, who is gone rogue based on political preference, political ideology, and they continue to do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. Now, do they really expect a different result? No. They know they're not going to win this. They don't have evidence. They can blow smoke all they want about the fact that it's the Espionage Act. Just it's random. They pull things out of their hat. They find a person, namely Trump, who they would much rather destroy than try to figure out a way of truly representing the people. The old saying, they come to kill, steal, and destroy. That's what they've wanted to do to Trump since he came down that escalator. They're going to continue it. It's until Trump is no longer on this earth. It will always be gotcha, getcha, Trump. And that, like I said, is never going to stop. However, since they don't really have evidence and they don't really have a crime, because once again, all of last week, all we heard was they have recordings of Trump saying this, Trump saying that. Has anybody heard those recordings? I haven't heard any of those recordings. If you've heard those recordings, please put it in the chat on Facebook Live or at Rumble or YouTube. If you have an instance of this, because I just have got to hear it and see it for myself. I take that out of my background of wanting to know. If prove it to me, show me, bring the goods, bring the receipts, as Dan Bongino and Kat Peterson say. But if you have it, you can also text it to 309-451-9299. Once again, this is never going to stop. And that's not necessarily true. There's going to be a tampering down of it, I believe, once Trump gets into the White House again in January of 2025, and he starts to pull in the rest of the untied little pieces to his presidency, where he basically cleans house, drains the swamp. The swamp was hardly even brought down a few inches in the cesspool that it is. But I think fully he's prepared now to pull that plug so fast, so quick, that we are going to see major changes in our culture, in our society. Now, I understand across the way, not everybody agrees that Trump's going to be in the White House. And if it's not Trump, it really doesn't matter. It's going to be a Republican. I think what we've seen in the polling, whether it's DeSantis or Trump, they both lead Biden in the polls right now. And they're going to continue. That's part of the reason for the indictment, right? Because, anytime Biden, Clinton, Obama crime families feel the pressure, especially in light of the newest release from the FBI, the documents, and of course trying to run cover for the leaker because it would cause great harm, maybe the life of this leaker. Once things come out into the light and people start getting knowledge that, wow, the Ukrainians have receipts on the monies that they gave to the Biden family. Wow. Then suddenly an indictment comes down on Trump from Jack Smith, which purely political theater. I've said it about everything. I think you heard me say that about J6. I've said it about anything these folks do. It's never about you and me. It's never about the people. That's not who they represent. They represent the power structure. They represent themselves. They enrich themselves off of the taxpayers' back. They truly find themselves bloviating about how much they care about society and different groups. But really, at the end of the day, they don't care. Now, I do want to let you know about the conviction part this morning. And I think it's important that we, as people who are conservative, Christian conservative, it might not apply to you necessarily as a Christian conservative, but at least as conservatives, I think it's important that we realize what we're facing and we don't get demoralized, especially of the Christian faith. Why would we be demoralized? We know that things like this are going to continue to happen. They have happened over and over and over and over again until Christ returns to this earth. That's what we're up against. And we are going to suffer. And we are going to be persecuted. But find it all in joy. Now, and I didn't say in happiness, I said in joy. Why? Because we're on the right track. It's so easy. And I even find myself kind of grimacing a little bit when I hear some of our opinionators, commentators, just bashing the radical left, the progressives, whether that be President Biden, Resident Biden, or J.B. Pritzker, or Adam Schiff, or a host of others. Because it makes me grimace because I'm not that kind of person. I'm not a name caller. And I hope you're not either. And that's where I'm going to weave into today's show some of the things that were shared this morning in Pastor Timothy James Farrell's message, because it is about our words. What words are we using? And I'm not talking about words where we make things up and play word salad with them, because that's deception. I'm talking about truly, what do our words do to impact the betterment of humanity? I hope that here on Cities 92.9, that I do a better job of communicating with you words that are uplifting and positive and bring that whole enlightenment to love, because that's what it's about. For God so loved the world, he gave his only son. And in his absence, we're plan A. There is no plan B. Hey, but we're going to talk more about that. We're going to get into the weeds a little bit about the Trump indictment. We have Adam Niemberg, a state representative from the Illinois Freedom Caucus, is going to join us in the second hour. And I do believe we're going to have a guest in studio too, but I'm not going to make an announcement until that is official. But we're going to be back here after break. I hope you join us on the other side. Until then.
Okay, David, I'm really happy that you ended that last segment with communication, because we have some communication we need to do now.
Okay.
So a few things. First off, did you tell State Rep Niemberg that this was also going to be a video interview?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
Yeah.
Because he did not realize that.
Well, it's all right. I told him that we offer that now. I said, that's
Gotcha.
up to you.
Gotcha.
Why is he in his pajamas still?
I don't know. He just said, "Is this an interview or radio?" And I said, "Both. We recently started streaming and everything."
I told him that.
Okay. And he said, "Okay." And they did like a lot of dots. And so I wasn't sure if that was like,
well, he's probably, not that he's tuned in right now, but he's probably somewhere he can't do that. Maybe he has to do it via radio, which is fine. I mean, that'll be new, a new challenge for me.
Did you tell him a time?
Yeah. I told him he was in the 2 o'clock hour, the 2 to 3 o'clock hour.
Just the full, because he asked me, what time do you want me on? And
yeah, so I told him starting at 2. I didn't know if it would go 30 minutes or 40 minutes. Oh, I thought you were talking about the chat. Let's see.
No, that communication is good too, though.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Now we got.
No, I see in the chat room, and maybe many of you might see there, that we have one of our frequent contributing trolls commenting. And, unfortunately, that's a letter that was written by Thomas Jefferson. It has nothing to do with the Constitution. Let's just leave it at that. The First Amendment says nothing of the context of separation of church and state. Never has existed, never will exist. You can't reinvent history. I know that revisionists try to do that, especially on the side of progressive Marxism and communism, because that's the Communist Manifesto and Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but I guess bring some context to your argument, right? I mean, bottom line is, you can make statements all you want. You can parrot what has been said over and over and over again, like Russian collusion and the PP hoax and all those other things that they were going to indict Trump on. I mean, I've got a certain
You're about to
texter that tells me over and over again how they're going to get Trump this week. It's got you, Trump. Witch hunt. All right, here we go. Yes, as I left off, and hopefully you're enjoying your Sunday with the DPB show, whether that be via Facebook Live, YouTube, Rumble, Twitter. We've got it all. We're not quite like our friend Tucker Carlson by any means, but you know what? We're making our own little way here at Cities 92.9. Kevin Ferris across the way. Kevin, I want to make sure our audience stays tuned, not only to the 2 hours of the DPB show, but to 2 hours of Speechless with Kevin Ferris.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Now I'm on air. I got to make sure I'm on air there. But yeah, we got a great show coming up today. I mean, I interviewed Riley Gaines, a 12-time All-American NCAA
wait a second.
swimmer.
You just made the announcement.
I've already made the announcement on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
And everything.
I was wondering if this was still hush hush.
No. Everybody, it's been. I announced it on like Wednesday, that I had done an interview with her, and so it's airing today. Riley Gaines, 12-time All-American swimmer.
They just haven't heard the interview.
Haven't heard the interview.
Okay,
yet. Nope, so that is like I said, airing today. She is quite the spitfire, but also one of the most down-to-earth people I have ever met, especially after gaining national attention and being on shows like Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, and tons of others, making a lot of national media appearances. But she did, she digitally stopped by our humble little station here, Cities 92.9, to talk with me about men and women's sports, biological men and women's sports, her activism since. She never really wanted to be an activist, and you'll hear all about that. And then also she endorsed Ron DeSantis for president. So I asked her questions all about that. I flat out asked her, why did she not endorse Trump? And so she gives that answer. Everybody, you're going to want to stay tuned for that.
Oh yeah. Wow. A cliffhanger.
Yep.
A cliffhanger with Kevin Ferris and Speechless.
They call that I'm learning more and more about radio, David. They call it a tease. That's what you guys.
It's a tease. That or with me, it's not necessarily a tease. It's just that I'm getting to the age where I forget stuff.
So you gotta take the break to remember.
It's kind
of what you're about to talk about.
That's right. Yeah. That's what it is. Hey, Kevin. So real quick, because Riley Gaines, fascinating human being, obviously cast or thrown into the limelight, right? In regards to her having to swim against Leah Thomas, is that
William Thomas? The transition to Leah Thomas.
Leah Thomas. Okay, William. I didn't know his first name. But she swam in a race against him. Are you familiar with Billie Jean King and oh gosh, I had his name and I just drew a blank.
I know what you're talking about. The Battle of the Sexes back in
That's
the
right.
70s, I believe.
Not Rod Laver. Was it Rod Laver? It was.
Oh my God, what was his name?
I was trying to I had it before you said that, and then once you said William Thomas, his name. No, it wasn't Rod
Riggs. Bobby Riggs.
I did have Bobby Riggs.
Yep.
I did have it there. See what I was telling you? It's not a tease, Kevin. It's just a matter of the mind is a terrible thing to kind of get confused about. Yeah. But Riggs and Billie Jean King used to have this match, and they used to play, and they'd go after each other in tennis. Now, granted, Bobby Riggs was retired, and it was the man versus woman. And I don't know how that ever ended up. I know that she won a couple times, or maybe he, was a draw.
I think she had beat him at times, but like the thing is too, is it's a sport by sport thing too, especially when it comes to biological men and women's sports. I mean, like if you did gymnastics, yes, women will likely, because of the biological advantages of women that are prone to flexibility over men. Yes, women are likely to beat men in terms of doing something like gymnastics, but swimming, in which broad shoulders is a biological advantage, a longer body, so then you have more arm length to stretch in the water, longer legs to kick and get everything like that.
The hip joints themselves,
the hip joints,
that creates the propulsion,
everything. And so yes, like that's what people are talking about. People asked me, I had lefties that were commenting on some of my videos. I know we're coming up against break here, but I had lefties commenting on my videos like, well, doesn't she talk about biological women in men's sports? And I'm like, no, that's not the issue. The issue is we have MMA fights of biological men that beat the skulls in of biological women.
Yeah.
And we have a reduction of Title IX now, so that women no longer can compete fairly in their athletics.
Demoralization, that's what it's about. But we want you to stay focused on the main thing. And that's to make sure we're watching what we say and how we say it, because ultimately we'll let the left take as much line as they want. They have tried to, as Kevin's shirt says across the way, anti-socialism social club. They have tried to move the lever and the needle towards their way of life, their understanding of what the world should look like. But this is the United States of America. We stand on the Constitution of the United States. And we're going to talk more about that when we come back here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal.
Okay, and we are still live on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. I did that one last week.
I love it. Let's get ready to rumble. Well, always appreciate you joining us here on the Facebook Live, on Rumble, on Twitter, on YouTube. And you know what? It's just a great day to be an American. And I know that, once again, it can be very disheartening when you hear everything you hear. But courts and our judicial system, whether you think you get it right, whether we think they should get it right or not, for the most part, our three branches of government have withstood the test of time. They're going to continue. I am long on America. America is going to be great again. I believe that it's either with DeSantis or Trump, either one. I support both. Whoever wins the primary, I'm all in. I just was in Knox County yesterday talking to a very driven, excited group of people who want to continue to see the grassroots movement, to see some of these things that have been somewhat anti-American, pro-socialism, pro-progressivism, that have taken a foothold in our state and in our counties and in our municipal government. They want to see that turned around. They don't like it, and I see why. I mean, it isn't something that's going to be for the betterment of the community. It never is. It is about truly bringing people down, and they have won if they're able to do that. That's why I think we continue to speak life. We use our uh, God-given talents and treasures and time to get involved in the process of government for too long, and I'm going to hit upon this when we come back live, is we've gotten too comfortable. We are too complacent, and it's easy to be in America. We are the land of plenty. We have things that you go to most countries. I mean, a Walmart in the country of Haiti is surrounded by armed guards. You don't just pull into the parking lot at the they don't call it Walmart. It's a type of major discount store, and the people who are pulling into that lot usually are the people of advantage, people who have the money, and they are well guarded and armed. And it's part of what you see in a third world country when power has taken over and the people are left to fend for themselves. And it's not good. This seems like a short bottom of the hour break. Is that correct, or am I? Oh no, okay,
No,
I see.
this was your half-hour break. You still got about 40 seconds left until we're back live.
Okay.
But we always encourage everybody, make sure you like, subscribe, and share no matter where you're watching so we can keep getting these messages out to everybody. And if you're one of our hecklers, we always appreciate when you post your comments. We do see them.
That's a good word, heckler. But, contributors. I like contributing trolls.
Yeah.
I don't mind being a troll. I troll JB Pritzker all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I sure don't agree with him.
Yeah. I know that, David. I don't think anybody would mistake that.
And I'm trying to think who voted for him.
I think there's a lot of dead people in Chicago.
It was something. The ballots showed up, though. You know what? It is about comfort. It's about complacency. And I started telling you guys about this before we went to break. And if you have comments or questions, by all means, 309-451-9299, 309-451-9299 is the text line. Chat room is open. I'd like to take a look at the chat. We've got an active chatter right now. He's one of our frequent contributors. I've actually come to like him. I'd love for him to come into studio sometime or get on the line with me.
I think it'd be really hard. I mean, because considering the fact that I think it's a he,
don't misgender.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to be respectful. Yes. I want to be respectful of everybody. But because he doesn't have a profile picture, like I don't even think that he'd want to.
He did. So
at one point,
and I have on a good account that he is a man.
Gotcha.
Yes. And
but we appreciate you, honestly. And I always say on my show, and I don't know if you're the same way, David, but my haters, my hecklers, my trolls, all of those people, I honestly, they've done more for me than anybody who's ever supported me, because my haters, hecklers, and trolls are the ones that continuously motivate me to want to speak louder.
Yes. And my voice is going to continue to be heard. I know your voice is here at Cities 92.9. That's what we're about. We're about getting the word out. We're about speaking into the darkness and bringing truth to light.
Because we will not be made speechless, David.
That's right. We will not be made speechless. And thank you. And that gets back to the comfort and the complacency. Unfortunately, too many of us have become complacent and complicit. We wonder how we got to where we're at 10 years removed, 20 years removed, 30 years removed. And it's because we are too comfortable. I was telling you, Kevin, and our audience on Facebook Live, Rumble, YouTube, and Twitter, that you go to a third world country like Haiti or the Dominican Republic, and you realize when you talk about police states, I remember touching down in Jamaica. And now a lot of you would say, wow, Jamaica, that's the island where people go to vacation. Well, it is. However, it's also the second poorest country in the Caribbean behind Haiti. It's devastating.
Yeah,
I mean, abject poverty once you're off and away from the resorts. I just was marveled at the fact that their military base is at the end of the runway. And when you see their armed military, these guys are all, I think there's a criteria that they have to adhere to. They just don't get hired on for the military if they're 6 foot. They have to be 6'1".
Jeez.
They have to be 185 pounds with like 4% body fat.
Yeah.
They have to look really good in a beret and the reflective, Amin, what was his name? The dictator, Abi Amin or whatever his name was, the reflective mirror
Mhm.
sunglasses, the aviator glasses,
Yeah.
similar to Joe Biden
Yeah.
when we're talking about
Dark
dictators.
Biden.
Yeah.
Yep, Dark
But,
Biden.
but that's their military.
Mhm.
I mean, these guys, and they got strapped. They have assault rifles, true assault rifles, because
Mhm.
they're M16s strapped, and they are governed by uh, a form of government, a socialism, a not democrat. We couldn't even call it democrat socialist
Mhm.
movement, because they have 2 or 3 parties there. One is Santa Claus, one is to the left of Santa Claus, and the other one is to the left of the Easter Bunny. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's their whole essence of governing, is is that they talk about socialism and giveaway, but the people, if it was really working, and I love when Bongino says this on his show. If Democrat cities in their way of ruling, Joe Biden in his way of his administration, if it really worked, then why isn't it working? And this gets back to the comfort thing here in
Mhm.
the United States. We are so comfortable. And this is part of the reason that we find ourselves where we're at today, with so many issues that are confronting us day in, day out, that we are slowly slipping into that state of, and I know a lot of people have said banana republic, police state, police tyranny. I don't see that yet. uh I hear it,
Mhm.
and unfortunately I think that's a little overzealous. I'm not saying that we're not, you know there's a fine line, and we're not really close to the fine line.
Yeah.
But I went to church this morning, Kevin. I got in my car, I drove over to my church. As far as I know, I have the right the First Amendment affords us,
You do?
the right to the freedom of religion, the freedom of religion, not
Mhm.
from religion, of
Exactly.
religion.
Absolutely. One thing I wanted to say, when you're talking about, you've expanded it a lot, but I want to bring it to your idea of complacency.
Yes.
There's a quote that I say in a lot of my speeches when I give them. It's one that I truly believe, and it's honestly one that's driven me to continuously be a younger activist. But it's just the idea of, we can no longer accept the things we cannot change. It is time we change the things we cannot accept.
That is the old prayer of serenity,
Hmm.
Kevin, and they use that a lot in the 12-step programs. That we can spend our whole life trying to change things that we basically will never be able to change.
Hmm.
And I say never from the standpoint that I'm never going to be 6'9".
Yep.
I'm not going to be in the NBA. I'm not going to be throwing footballs, especially with 2 artificial hips, in the NFL.
Hmm.
Uh, that would be a pure miracle, right? That would be the parting of the Red Sea, and the striking down of, or the raising of Lazarus, and things like that. And maybe God calls me to that. You'll see me on Sunday
Hmm.
football, when you'll look up at the monitor and there's DPB, 60-year-old guy, the oldest quarterback that's ever donned on the uniform in the NFL. But it's not likely. But what can I impact? What can I change? How can I impact this world? I've tried, and believe me, I've fallen short many times. Definitely fallen short in running for political office, trying to represent
Hmm.
the people of the state of Illinois by being a state representative. Um, but I learned a lot. I mean, if not for that, I love the title of Dan Bongino, and you hear me mention Dan Bongino because he is my guy.
Hmm.
Rush was my guy before Bongino. I didn't even know who Dan Bongino was, but he's filled that slot. And I happen to have the ability to be moving around town here and there and catching sound bites. But now, with the advent of technology, similar to what we're doing here in our platform at Cities 92.9, uh, I can listen to him wherever.
Yeah.
And his show basically mirrors what he does on the radio. And that's why I think it's important that our shows, too, are pushed out there in different formats. So if you've missed us on Sunday from 1 to 3 at the DPB show, you can catch us by listening to us in a replay. And believe me, it's not at the level of Dan Bongino. I am still learning. Believe me, I've only been on this track of truly being awake, getting out of my comfort zone, because I too was very comfortable. Anything I say here, I'm only repeating it because I've lived through it, and
Yeah.
I believe that a lot of you have. I mean, I know many in our audience, and I appreciate every one of you is still struggling, and you find yourself in a position of being comfortable, maybe thinking, I need to get outside of my bubble, get outside of my comfort zone, and do something radical that I truly can implement change,
Mhm.
changing things I truly can. One of the things you can truly change coming into this new election cycle is you can grab a clipboard and help a candidate get signatures to get
Mhm.
on the ballot. And I don't care. You know what? I don't care if that's a Democrat or a Republican, Green Party, Libertarian. Get involved.
Mhm.
Impact change. That's the change you believe in. Believe me, get
Well,
involved.
and I think it's really important, and I was reminded of this. I was sitting down. I mean, I live here over the summer in Central Illinois, and there's not too much to do besides my job. And so I was sitting down watching a movie the other night. And it was you might have seen it. It's an older-ish movie, not super old, but it's called Bruce Almighty.
Hmm.
Um, and I really loved it. It's a Jim Carrey movie, and I know Jim Carrey's got his political beliefs and whatever, and he's kind of a whack job. But in the movie, I mean, Morgan Freeman plays God, and Jim Carrey starts at the beginning of the movie, has all these bad things happen to him, and blames everything under the sun besides himself, and blames God even, and said God must hate me.
Hmm.
God must just hate me. And then
Yeah.
so Morgan Freeman playing the role of God comes down and says, well, if you think it's so easy
Yeah.
to do what I do,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you all my power. And
Yeah.
then Bruce goes on to have a lot of self-serving um,
Hmm.
uh, events that he uses God's power for. And then eventually by the end realizes that the weight that God has
Yeah.
to do everything that he does for us is so unbelievably massive that it needs to be recognized and thanked
Yep.
for. And along with that, it is important because of all that weight that God has to do what you can do in your humanly body
Yes.
for the good of society, because in a way that alleviates the weight that God has.
Well, and you bring up good points, because that is indeed the deeds that we do. Obviously, the deeds that we do are reflected to the greater good of everyone.
Mhm.
I was reminded of that this morning. Once again, weaving in to this entire show, some of the things that Pastor Timothy James Farrell said this morning, and Pastor Farrell came up with a couple points. One being from Second Thessalonians, it says, "As for you, brothers and sisters, never tire of doing what is good."
Mhm.
I think that is important. And then it said in First Timothy, "Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share." You know, we can be a better society, Kevin, and you're right. And it starts with, let it begin with me. Let it begin with you. Let it begin with the person on the other end of this microphone that's listening to the DPB show here
Mhm.
today at Cities 92.9. Start that process of making the good you want to see. I think that was a quote from, I can't remember what uh, president said
Mhm.
that, or some philosopher. I think it was more of a philosopher or theologian. Be the good you want to see in the world,
Mhm.
because that is a direct reflection of humanity, is how we treat each
It was
other.
Gandhi. Gandhi said
It
it,
was
it wasn't
Gandhi said,
change. It wasn't good. It was be the change you want to see in the world. But
be the
same
change.
idea.
Change, be the
I
good,
think
be
it
the
was Gandhi. Yeah.
kindness, be whatever it is that you want to reflect. Obviously, that is what it's, using our words, using our deeds to bring that forth. And it's important. You know, when you talk about Bruce Almighty and the
Mhm.
all power, all prevalent power of God over this world, I think about the debt and the national debt and what we hear that's going on, raising the debt ceiling, that, the economy is going to crush under the power of the debt. And that might happen, Kevin.
Mhm.
And whoever owns that debt, but this is one world, you know?
Yeah.
And ultimately, as far as I know, uh, we all pretty much deal with the same common humanity. And that is getting up every morning, uh, making it to the end of the day, whatever that 24-hour or 12-hour period of time comprises, we all have share that in common. And no matter whether you believe it or not, uh, God has made a way for all of us. And it's just not in heaven, it's here on earth. And we can have it here today. And as you said, by being open to living out a life in grace, a life of acceptance, a life of doing the best thing we can do, doing good, being the change we want to see. But we're going to continue this conversation on the other side of the break. Here at Cities 92.9, I want to make sure that we continue to bring you the most current of events, kind of weaved in with the convictions I get before I come into studio every Sunday. And so I think it's important. I wouldn't be doing what I believe is in my heart if I just sat up here and blabbered about all of the craziness in the world, because there is more than just craziness. There is good, and it lies within the hearts of every human. So, hey, we're going to be back here at Cities 92.9 after this, and we'll just continue this discussion.
Okay. Well, we're still live here on Fit. One thing I wanted to bring up too, and I didn't really feel like it hit on the same things that a lot of your show's been about, but I just was thinking about it too as I was watching Bruce Almighty this week. Is what happened to making content like that?
Yeah.
Like, it's not, I mean, it's a Christian type movie in the terms that it discusses God and in a religious way, but it doesn't necessarily, it's secular in a way as well. It doesn't necessarily, but it still in a way recognizes a higher power.
Yes.
And it feels like all the content that comes out today, if it recognizes a higher power, pushes it in a negative light.
Yeah.
Like, or at least most things that come out of Hollywood. But what happened to where we could have, I mean, and then there was Evan Almighty, which was the follow-up, which was
Evan
as
Almighty.
if not more biblical in terms of the fact that it directly referenced Noah's Ark. So
Noah's Ark, yeah. He built that ark in his backyard.
Yep, and he was a congressman too. That was the thing that I loved too about that one. Is he was a congressman that was obviously very egotistical, very self-centered,
and was then part of legislation that actually was underhanded, right? It's the corruption of the legislation. Well, demoralizing. I mean, ultimately, that is what this is all about. And as the church ladies used to say on Saturday Night Live, could it be Satan? And I truly believe in the darkness of the world. I mean, scripture tells us that. Jesus told us that there was one who ruled the world, and it wasn't him.
Yeah.
And so plausible deniability, is that what that we're banking on? We're just going to deny it. That's some sky god, as some of our hecklers say.
Sky daddy is what
Sky daddy, yeah, whatever it might be.
You can call him that. And that's the thing that I think is crazy too, is like we have hecklers and they're obviously secular, or if they want to identify as Satanist, whatever, maybe just atheist, whatever. But they say sky daddy as if it offends me. I'm like, no, I mean, it's kind of not wrong. Like,
because it's not about a cult.
No,
it's about a relationship.
Yep.
And if that's not your relationship, or if that is your relationship, that you're so distanced from a God, I kind of like Phil Robertson's statement. How are you going to get out of the grave?
Yep.
If that's it, there you have it. Your sky daddy ain't going to help you.
And that's kind of the way that I see some of this, is that is to an extent. I mean, I'm a Catholic. I believe in the Catholic faith, but I also do believe that if you are an atheist, you will reap what you sow.
Yeah.
If you don't want eternal life, if that's not what you're seeking,
you get eternal death.
Yep.
There you go.
Because to me, that would be hell. Would be
eternally be
eternal
in a state of darkness and death. Yes, whatever that might be, how that manifests. Here we go. We're live again. Mark Levin.
Yep.
Download app. Hey, thanks for coming back here at Cities 92.9. I'm David Paul Blumenschein. This is the DPB show. Obviously, Kevin's across the way. If you're on Facebook Live, Rumble, Twitter, or YouTube, you got the split screenshot of Kevin and I having very lively conversation on the breaks. So if you ever feel that you'd like to jump over, jump back and forth. Now, we do appreciate you listening to our ads and our sponsors because it's important. We can't do what we do here at Cities 92.9 without our sponsors. And our sponsors are so gracious and generous that a lot of them have been with us for years and years. They support what we're doing here. Whether they agree with it, I'm not saying that. I'm saying they support it. And they support it because, as you were saying, Kevin, it's good to have discussions and to have contradictory views, you know, and it shouldn't be, you should be silenced for the way you think. That is what's going on, unfortunately, with a lot of conservative sources, is people are being told to sit down and be quiet. They'd love for Trump to sit down and be quiet. They'd love for DeSantis to sit down in Florida and be quiet.
Well, and I had this conversation with Ty yesterday because you saw my video where I went and talked to the protesters at the DeSantis event. And I just thought it was so funny because so many of them, they had a problem with DeSantis because of book bans that don't exist. And because he wants to quote, he's a fascist that wants to silence speech. That's what they'll say. But then when I asked them, they're like, we don't want him talking.
We don't want him talking.
And so it seems
we don't like it because it's hate speech.
It's oxymoronic.
It's hate speech.
Yeah.
The fact that you have an opinion is now hate speech. And that's because it's an opinion that you obviously don't agree with. And you know what? That's no different than what we were saying about our chat room, or that some of our frequent contributors on our Facebook pages or on the chat here.
I mean, even JB Pritzker sent out a statement that said, we don't accept Ron DeSantis's hate. Like every time that Ron has come to Illinois.
JB is classical. He is one who is definitely a demoralizer. Yet he holds himself up as this gracious, kind, intolerant person that is accepting of everybody. But yet then he fires off that these people are misogynist, homophobic, transphobic, misogynist.
And they're not accepted in Illinois.
White supremacists, yeah. And they're not accepted in my state.
He basically does everything but literally bar DeSantis from coming to Illinois. I mean,
but DeSantis has never barred JB from coming to Florida, which he did during the lockdown
he
pandemic.
Says, your family, you're all welcome here in the free state of Florida. That's what he always says.
And as he should be. It's funny when they get that shot between, because he was sitting right next to DeSantis in this photo that I saw. The other photo that I did see was JB in the White House when Trump was there, and he was all the way down at the end of the table. There's a reason, JB, that you were put to the end of the table, because obviously he didn't want to really communicate with you.
Well, and because at the end of the table, there's more room. Like if he was squished in between people, and that he'd be hitting Kevin, everybody's arms.
This is what I was talking about with Pastor Timothy James Farrell, because it's important. I don't want to obviously, you're right. Sometimes you need more room.
I poke fun.
I know you do. And I think I think that's unfortunately part of where we're at, is because even when we know that we're making light of a situation or pointing something out, we have made that into a profession of discontent amongst society. And I don't truly see it, Kevin. I know you might see it a little more. I met Jasmine Jordan this morning.
She was on Kat's show.
She was on Kat. She's a young conservative, part of AFP, I think, Americans for Prosperity. Is it AFP or is it the other one? Americans, what's the one that Ronald Reagan did?
Oh, that's Young Americans
for Liberty.
Yeah,
Young Americans
like
for Freedom.
For Freedom.
YAF. YAF. I think she's YAF. But anyhow, Jasmine, who, according to the Washington Post, happens to be black. That's what they said about Ty Smith.
Yeah. Happens to be black.
To be black. I don't know how it happened. I mean, I think she was born black, but maybe she identified.
It just so happens.
I can verify that from my limited perspective of being able to really see, she does appear to be black. Now, she could maybe have a little other, many other different nationalities kind of rifled in there. But bottom line is this. She was called a white supremacist. And it's funny because Tim Scott was on The View the other day. Did you happen to catch a little
I
bit
did.
of that?
Amazing interview.
Well, and it's funny because I think he handled himself very well. And, it was a setup, right? Because one of the commentators, one of the guest hosts there on that show, not only is Whoopi, but then there's this young lady, and I can't remember her name. She is the younger Black female.
I don't remember her name.
Well, and because they've had a lot of rotation on that, but she was the one that was going to pepper Tim Scott.
Oh yeah, was it Alyssa Griffin and
Yes.
Anna Navarro is also on it?
No,
as well.
Alyssa Griffin.
Yep.
Yeah, and she was going to get the gotcha on Tim Scott, and ultimately, there are hundreds and thousands of people who happen to identify as conservative, and they continue to be deemed or called white supremacists.
It's like Ben Shapiro gets called a Nazi all the time. He's an Orthodox Jew, and you call him it doesn't make any sense.
But this gets back to my point of what Timothy James Farrell was saying. The words we use to refer to other people, I'm never going, and I hope that I'm good about doing this, but I have to pray that I don't say things,
We're getting cut off here, but we could just wrap up real quick.
I will wrap it up. But look at that, how that happens. But we're going to be back here after break here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal.
Okay, we can bring on, I see him in the waiting room there. We can bring him on, make sure that his mic and everything works here. How's it going, Representative? Okay, I can't hear you. Let's make sure everything looks like it should be good on my end.
Your audio was also removed. Add yourself back and use layout buttons. If you want to maximize a quote.
That's just on yours, David.
Okay, that's just on my thing.
I'm listening for you, Adam, but I still can't hear you.
He's talking. Oh.
Nope, still can't hear you. Was it showing that you could be heard in the waiting room or in like the green room beforehand? Let me see here. I'm going to double check. Maybe it's an issue on my end. Actually, I can check if it's an issue on my end.
Can you hear me now? Nope, that was me.
That's an issue on his mic's end. He's going to probably try to come back in and see how it works. Obviously, we got some technical difficulties for everybody watching. We're making sure, obviously, consistently that we're bringing you guys the best content possible. And so we always got stuff to work on here. And
flag it. That's what they say on the Bongino show. Flag it. We're throwing a flag. There's interference. That's right, the commercial I do. If you're experiencing interference, which we are here at Cities 92 right now, we're going to see Adam pop back up into the screen, and we're going to get him on here just to do a sound test.
This is why we do it, though. This is why we get the test
There
going.
He comes.
Let's try him again.
There he is.
You guys okay?
There we go. There we go. Now we can hear you.
It's alive.
We're on my phone now. Do we have a second? I'm going to see if get my headphones on.
Yep,
that's perfectly fine.
Yep, we got
perfectly
time.
fine. I'm going to remove myself. I got to go to the bathroom real quick.
Okay.
Use the little boys' room, as you say.
Yep, little boys' room. Well, you already told the audience that. Adam should be back with us here. That is not a vacant seat. I'm looking at the pictures on his wall, though, right now. It's kind of cool. He has if you're watching the Facebook Live, there is the Cities 92.9 logo up above his left shoulder.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Good. Yeah, I got Reagan, and then let's see. These are old photos here of us setting things up for the campaign. Oh, there's the one with Trump. Not that one.
Hey. Oh, that's right. That's when you were down at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of early stuff, and I got to get some new ones up there. But how's everything going?
It's going. Hey, did you try to call me yesterday? I saw the call come through. I don't know if you dialed me by accident or was it?
That would have been an accident. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I didn't mean anything.
I
Sorry
was
about
in
that.
Knox County doing a little training for precinct committee people. There were 7 counties represented, and fascinating. Darren and Cindy were there, and Ray Estrada, candidate for the 17th Congressional District, was there too. That is his backyard. It was in Galesburg, Illinois. And so then on our way over to Peoria, we had a meeting over there. I saw that I thought you had called, but then I said, oh, maybe I called him. So.
No, it would have been an accident. Sorry about that. Yeah, that definitely would have been a butt dial.
So see, things have changed here at Cities. We are doing things a little different. That guy right there in the middle, that's Kevin Ferris.
moving that
in
around.
case you haven't met Kevin.
How's it going?
Have you met Kevin, Adam?
I don't know.
Maybe, honestly, I've gone to a lot of political events around Illinois, so we might have crossed paths at some point. But
so
maybe
Kevin has held a few hats. He was with the Turning Point USA chapter here on Illinois State University.
Yep,
still
I started
is.
that one here.
He was at Mar-a-Lago. He was just showing his picture when he was at Mar-a-Lago. Kevin received from Charlie Kirk an ambassador's award for Turning Point.
Yep.
And he just sat for the LSAT yesterday.
I did 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
2 days ago.
awesome.
But he's very active still. Just finished up his undergrad.
I finished in December.
December.
It was a double major.
And finishes in December. But he has his own show. And here it is. I think
Good.
You got longer now.
That's right, longer. They extend these breaks. But so Kevin has his own show, and he has had the fortunate pleasure to interview Riley Gaines.
I did.
And that's what his show is on today.
Yep. So I'm airing that interview today. Yeah, it was awesome. Great. Honestly, one of the most down-to-earth people I've ever talked to. So
yeah, you find that normal people with common sense seem to be down to earth.
Well, and that's a good segue. But before we come on air, Adam, tell our audience that's watching us on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble, and YouTube a little bit about your family. You're married, right?
Yep, married, and there's a take the B out of the name there. Sorry.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're fine. Don't worry. It happens.
I just caught that. It just flashed.
No
up
worries.
there.
No
my
worries.
apologies.
So I've been married for 13 years. Met my wife at Eastern. I have a bachelor's in history that I went to Eastern for, and she was public relations, and we met at Eastern. And then we were married in May of 2010, and I live just outside of a little town called Teutopolis, just outside of Effingham, where I was born and raised. My family is in the small business. Many small businesses that we have had over the years. I worked for Country Financial for 12 years as a claims adjuster before I decided to go into politics with zero experience, and that was a lot of fun. Then ran for state representative, and we have my son is 8 and my daughter's 5.
We're going to come on, and then we're going to give you an opportunity to tell our audience a little bit about your story too, but more importantly, everything else going on at the State House. Wow, we came in hot there, Kevin. Man alive, the music picked up, and here we are. We're back at it at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal and beyond. And I say beyond because now you can catch us on Facebook Live, Twitter, Rumble, YouTube, and of course on the radio every Sunday from 1 to 3. And obviously, I'm not going to take I'm going to take time to give credit where credit's due for Cities 92. We have a host of other contributors from Levin, Bongino, Glenn Beck, Ben Shapiro, Markley, Van Campen Robbins, Chandler and Swan, Ty Smith, Kat Peterson doing the morning show, Kevin Ferris. Have I missed anybody? And Aldonzo and Dees. They are the newest redheaded stepchild, as they say.
I believe we air Charlie Kirk too. I think
we do. That's right. We do air Charlie Kirk. If you're just joining us, once again, there has been a lot of discussion about where we currently are on the federal level, especially in light of the Trump indictment. But on the state side of things, we have the battle of a lifetime continuing to play itself out in the state of Illinois. And if you were with us on Facebook Live during the break, you know who that is. He has been one of the voices of reason and common sense and logic in the state house in Springfield, and that is Adam Niemberg. And that's right, it doesn't have a B. See, Adam, Kevin likes to put a B in everything because it is the DPB show.
Yeah, hey, no worries at all. It happens all the time, guys. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for what you do, spreading the conservative message throughout Bloomington and the rest of the state. I really appreciate it.
Well, Adam, I just want to jump right into it, and I get your opinion of what is happening at the federal level, because you still have a lot of communication with the Congressional Freedom Caucus, so you know a little bit about what's happening, and it is rinse and repeat, right? They never stop. They continue doing the same thing over and over again, and I don't even think they want to get a different result. They just want to keep doing it.
It seems to feel that way sometimes. I'm a part of the Illinois Freedom Caucus, which is a branch. We work with the Federal Freedom Caucus as well. Great individuals. It's a great organization. Congresswoman Mary Miller is a member of the Freedom Caucus as well. And, we have great conversations about what's happening, where it's going, and what they're seeing happen on the federal level. What we saw with this recent impasse with McCarthy, in the Senate and the president, and what they were trying to do with the measures that they're putting forward on budget-related items, on whether or not the feds are going to shut down, what we're going to do, and raising the debt ceiling and all of that. And you saw the Freedom Caucus. The Freedom Caucus, they said, no, this is we have our outlines, we have what we want to do for the American people, and this does not help the American people. This is way too short of what we want to do. So they all put no votes on the board, but unfortunately, it looks like the Democrats helped get that across the finish line. So there were a lot of Republicans that voted yes for that. And what it does is it takes us into 2025. So it takes McCarthy talked about leverage, about how this gives us leverage. I don't see how that gives us leverage whenever we just, we continue to play ball with the Dems. And in this particular situation, we had all the cards. We could have had a much better deal down the road for the American people. But, we kind of see this happen on the federal level over and over again. But I am very happy that the Freedom Caucus is a force to be reckoned with, not only in the state of Illinois, where we're growing numbers in our caucus, but also on the federal level. And it's just a bunch of patriots that really want to stand for truth and common sense and the Constitution.
Well, and I was kind of referring to, obviously, the radical left continues to bring indictment after indictment. And, my wife challenged me this morning on our way to church. She said, why isn't the House just with the majority, even though it's a very slim majority, why aren't they bringing to task an impeachment against a Biden? We've obviously, when they gained power after Paul Ryan, during after the second year of Trump, they quickly circled the wagons and brought indictment after indictment, as they continue to do, even though Trump's not the president. But why don't we see the same type of behavior from the Republicans when they are in control of the House?
That's an excellent question. You see members of the Freedom Caucus, you see guys like Jim Jordan, you see Matt Gaetz, you see folks that are actually pushing the narrative of, hey, look at what's happening, look at what the Bidens have done, look at what's going on with Hunter Biden, look what's going on with all these cases. Yet the complacent media, they don't want to have anything to do with it. And then every time something starts to move, you see another Trump indictment. To be completely frank and honest, it's a situation where when the Dems have control, they play for keeps. We see this politically in Illinois. We see this throughout the entire country. They play for keeps. You see a lot of Dems in very slim districts. They don't shy away from, because they're core believers in this.
Yes.
They don't shy away. You see Katie Stewart. She runs bills that are extremely radical, and she's in a very slim district. She's in a D plus 1 or 2 point district. It's winnable for Republicans if we do it right. But the problem is sometimes when Republicans get in there, they think that, well, we gotta play ball a little bit. We have to do things a little bit differently, and they don't exactly swing for the fences. So when it comes to these Trump indictments, my honest gut reaction, honestly, is I think the Dems are probably meddling in primaries. I think they see that Trump's got a lead. They want him to have a lead, and they're trying to make sure he gets across that primary threshold, because Trump is going to be a great president if he's elected again.
Yes.
DeSantis would be a great president if he's elected.
Yep.
But I don't think that the Dems want to put DeSantis and Biden up there. I really don't think they want to do that. They have an axe to grind, and a lot of Republicans do too. You got to understand, a lot of Republicans have an axe to grind against Trump, and they don't think that he can beat Biden. I think he can. I think he can, and I like Trump and I like DeSantis. I like them both, but I think they're meddling in primaries. I think there's nothing to see here. You've got they're just, it's smoke and mirrors for what's going on with the Biden
I
camp,
call it
and that's how it is.
I call it political theater, and I'm glad you hit upon that. And it's interesting because it is very true in the state of Illinois. You see a certain radicalization of every bill that seems to be put forth. I mean, you're living it. You saw it during the lockdowns with JB. You were very outspoken about masking our children and trying to force vaccination on them. You know, golly, I will take back mask and vaccination over the over-sexualization and where they're going now any day. It's fascinating. They are called progressives for a reason, because they progressed from just putting a piece of cloth on our kids, to now showing them such inappropriate content in our schools, and they're not letting up. You know, I wanted to make sure that I got this point across. As I told you off air, I was in Knox County doing some training, and it was brought to our attention, that very thing. The Dems are working on election 26 and 28 right now, and the Republicans are barely trying to figure out how to propel ourselves into the 2024 election. Why do we take so much time, Adam? You know, a friend of mine who sat on the town council here, Stan Nord, said the Democrats run their party like a business, and the Republicans run their party like a garage sale.
I really wish that the state would be ran like a business. If I don't know, because oh my goodness, they run the state into the ground. They have no business acumen whatsoever. I mean, you're absolutely right. You know, there's two issues there. One is, you know, as Republicans, we need to be willing to tackle the issues head on. We need to be willing to talk about our pro-life stance. We need to be willing to roll out policy on business, on Second Amendment. You know, on the big issues, we need to be there. We need to be telling people what we're able to do, because the Democrats, like you said, have become so radicalized with the bills that they're running. You know, and secondly, it gets into what's happening in the school system. So you talked about the masking, the indoctrination in the schools. Everybody probably remembers SB 818, the sex ed bill that we fought so hard against, on making sure that your school districts opt out of this. The left agenda is getting into the school districts. The Invest in Kids Act was not in this budget. There's a $50 billion budget in the Invest in Kids Act, which the state doesn't have. It's a tax credit that doesn't cost the state anything. The Invest in Kids Act, it has underprivileged children are able to go to schools through this scholarship program. There's 22,000 kids, and it affects you know, minority communities the most with opportunity. Yet this was not in the budget. And the real reason it wasn't in the budget is because special interest groups. When we get down to the special interest groups portion, you know, whether we're talking about running elections or running Springfield, special interests control a lot of it. So we need to step away from these special interest groups. And what happens then? We need individual donors to stand up and donate to these campaigns. But if you take special interest groups out of the equation, if you have more principled legislators such as myself in the Freedom Caucus, you're able to curb a lot of this radicalization. The Invest in Kids Act would still be in that budget, when the IEA are the ones that whipped it so it would not be. But what's in the budget? $550 million. $550 million for illegal immigrant health care. But here's the kicker. They knew that the budget would be totally misallocated. They said it was balanced. It's not balanced. But they hid $550 million. The real price tag for that is $1.1 billion. So $550 million was hidden through executive order to the governor to disperse at a later time. That doesn't count the welcome centers. That doesn't count anything else. This is just $1.1 billion for healthcare. Yet we couldn't even put an Invest in Kids in the budget it's just terrible.
If you're just joining us here at Cities 92.9, on the line with me or on Facebook, Rumble, Twitter, or which one am I leaving out, Kevin? YouTube is Adam Niemberg. He is a member of the Illinois Freedom Caucus, state representative, one of the people that I believe is the future of the politics of Illinois. He is a hard-charging representative that brings truth to light. Adam, you brought up a point about the legislation that continues to find its way to the governor's desk, not only the budget, which we know isn't balanced, even though the governor comes out and says that he's balanced it 5 times. 6 credit upgrades. Thank you, Governor. Unfortunately, we're still tied at the bottom with New Jersey. So I don't know if we've really advanced the cause of our state by making proclamations as such that we've balanced budgets. What does a balanced budget mean? It means that we've allocated for every dollar that we've allocated, or we've spent every dollar that we've allocated, as if that's a great task. We've raised the budget almost $18 billion in a course of 6 years. So it's fascinating that we've doubled almost, or spent 50% added to our debt, or our budget, I should say. I think it's more debt, but legislation that is unconstitutional. This governor is notorious for putting forth legislation, whether it be in regards to the mask mandates, the lockdowns being unconstitutional, courts finding that, the masking being unconstitutional, the gun bill that's out there and currently is being litigated, not only on the state level, but the federal level. But now we have 2 things that I'd like you to hit upon, because I know you're well versed on it. Is the first one being that that the governor thinks that if you're going to bring suit against the state of Illinois, then you have to do that in 2 counties, either Cook or Sangamon. And the second one is this bill that's in front of him, HB 3751. You and I talked about it on the phone the other day. We're 100 yays versus the Freedom Caucus, the 7 nays, and then those that never voted. 11 representatives did not vote, or they were absent, or excused absences, or whatever that, meaning they probably just didn't want to vote on it. It's in regards to municipalities and non-citizens being able to be law enforcement officers in the state of Illinois. So I know that's 2 topics. Whatever one you want to tackle first, go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. We could start with the so folks, you see Cook and Sangamon County. What's the reason for that? The reason is because the 5th appellate is so strong. We have great judges, basically I'd say throughout the entire state, but in a couple of locations we don't. So the Dems know this, and they saw what happened with the masking, with the vaccines, with all these mandates that the governor tried to throw down on us throughout the state of Illinois. And I don't need to spend time getting into hashing out, Section 1.22 of the School Administrative Code and all that. But we had a case, and it was a viable case, and it was a winning case. And judges knew this. Even with healthcare right of conscience, you saw that being amended with 90,000 witness slips filed against it. They had to amend that. They said, first, this is nothing. This is nothing. You can't use this. Well, then they decided to change the law, right? So you knew you could. You knew that there was something there against these vaccine mandates. Same thing with masking in schools. So what do? They come back, and this happens all the time. If there's something unconstitutional, something that they see that bars them from having total totalitarian control over everybody in the state of Illinois, what do? They run a bill, and that bill fixes that problem. I mean, take a look at Deanne Mazzocchi up in the suburbs. She had a viable case for her elections with ballot issues. But what did they do? They came back in January in lame duck and changed the law. They literally changed the law.
Yeah,
so
right.
she couldn't do anything. They literally came back and changed the law. But secondly, you get into
we're just real quick. We're up against a break, and I know that you haven't gotten to the full extent of the second question that I had, and we'll cover this on the other side. We'll actually cover it a little bit on Facebook. I don't want to take it too much away from our radio audience, so we're going to get back into more of Adam's background and who he is, but we're going to do that on Facebook Live, Rumble, Twitter, and YouTube. But we will be back here at Cities 92.9 after break with Adam Niemberg to kind of hash this other part out with the non-citizen law enforcement bill, which is just mind-boggling. But we'll be right back after this break. All right. So married out of college, and that's where we were when we left off. And I'm doing this for our audience because I take a lot of guidance from my wife. She gives me great wisdom, and she said, "Hey, when you're not live on the radio and you're in the chat room," she said, "don't let the guests tell portions of things that the radio audience doesn't hear. I want to hear more about the person that's being interviewed or that's contributing to the discussion." So I said, "You know what? That's a great idea. I'm going to do that." So that's
Yeah,
why
no,
we're
that
doing
that
it.
is great. Always listen. Always, yeah, because Trina, she really helped me throughout the campaign to an extent that it was really truly impressive. She's in the banking industry. She works in Effingham here at a local bank, Washington Savings Bank, and she went into banking after college, but she had a PR degree, and she was able to use that really well during she still uses it all the time. So I'm always
Yeah.
bouncing ideas off of her. She's telling me what to do, and that's absolutely fine. But our kids are 8. My son is 8. My daughter is turning 5 this weekend, and we built on our family farm ground out here in rural Teutopolis area and little in Effingham County. We built probably 2011, 2012, and been here ever since with no intention of leaving the state of Illinois. I mean, why go to Florida when it's perfect? I like to work on stuff, so I like to stay here, and I'll keep working on the state of Illinois. But yeah, 12 years with country after college. Did that for a long time. My family had small businesses. My dad worked at a local factory for years and started a candle manufacturing company. He recently sold that, and we're just honestly normal people. I
There
mean,
you go.
it's just the truth. So.
We're back on air. Yep, and we're up against the clock, Adam, here at Cities 92. I'm sorry about that, because when we're on live on Facebook and our platforms on social media, I'm watching the clock. I'm listening to Kevin over there typing like a college student preparing for an exam, because I know what Kevin's doing over there. He's doing show prep for his show that's coming up here after the DPB show, Speechless, from 3 to 5, where he is going to play for our audience his interview with Riley Gaines. Obviously, I'd like to hear Adam's opinion on that a little bit, but that's what's ahead. That's why you're typing over there, right?
Honestly, the interviews, I did the interview on Tuesday, so it's a pre-recorded interview, but I'm also talking about the Trump indictment. And the thing is like, that's a 41-page document. I've read longer. I'll be honest. I have read longer, but I got to know what it says so that I could talk about it. It's not as easy as some of the social issues where it's something that we're dealing with every day. And so
you're playing in the sandbox when you talk about 41 pages, because that man right there in the center, he looks at bills that are put forth with 3 hours to read that are 3,000 pages, maybe 4,000 pages. Of course, how do you even start to go through that? This bill, and I know we told our audience we'd get to this, Adam, this bill that came forward and co-sponsored by Republicans and Dems in regards to HB 3751, where we're going to consider having non-citizens, they have to hold, I guess, a green card, and they can be law enforcement officers in our municipalities. But yet there's something to be said about that on the federal level, that they're not even allowed to carry a firearm. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Am I getting
yeah.
off on that?
No, you're correct. And going back to trying to go 41-page Control F. When I have a 3,000-page bill, Control F becomes probably my best friend.
That's exactly what I've been doing.
Control F. There you go.
But really, it kind of goes back to what I was speaking to earlier, where as Republicans, if we're going to take a stand on issues, if we're going to show folks out there in the state of Illinois where we're at on a policy situation, we can't muddy the water with this type of legislation. And what this legislation actually does, and every Freedom Caucus member voted no on it, is it allows folks that are here illegally to become police officers and carry firearms. The real issue, well, there's multiple issues with it, but the federal issue that you alluded to is we are trying to supersede federal law, meaning that they would be allowed to carry a firearm when under federal law they're not allowed to carry a firearm. So some folks felt that, okay, this bill doesn't have any teeth to it. It doesn't mean too much, so we can put a yes vote on it because it's not going to go anywhere, because until federal law is changed, this bill is null and void. Well, I don't really like counting on other people to do my job for me, and I don't really like the fact that we're okay. I'll put a yes vote on that because maybe federal law is okay or would help me out with that. Federal law can change, and once that does change, then here we are going down this slippery slope again on policy. Where everybody sees that the borders are wide open, everybody sees the flood of illegal immigrants, and we've got to be bold on this issue. We have to see it, because the folks throughout the state of Illinois see it in this country. Some people like call it asylum seekers or undocumented, or they're here illegally, and I do feel that the Hispanic population in the state of Illinois that came through here legally are seeing this, and they're very upset. And we have the Republicans we need to be stronger on this issue, and it ties into so many other issues with the Latino community on pro-life, on immigration, on taxation. These are hardworking individuals that want to prosper in this state, but yet we see what's happening, and we're just going in the wrong direction.
Well, the Illinois Freedom Caucus was formulated because of this craziness, right? The sanctuary state bills, the rabid approach to this egregious abortion bill that's been put forward. Hey, Adam, you know what? At first, I wanted to get your insight on the Illinois Freedom Caucus and going forward, but it looks like we got to take a break. Can you stay with us through the bottom of the hour break? I do want to hold you on because I want to talk a little bit about going forward, the Illinois Freedom Caucus, and how they see they're going to be able to gather more momentum, especially in a state with such super minorities. How can we overcome this? What are some of the steps that you guys are taking to see that through?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're gonna be back here. We're gonna be on the Facebook Live, but we will be back here after the bottom of the hour break. This is the David Paul Blumenshine Show at Cities 92.9. All right, and just like that, we're back over on the live chat, and and you were telling us, so 2 kids, a wife, no plans to leave Illinois whatsoever. Um, Adam, obviously we've had an opportunity since you took over for Darren Bailey as he vacated the seat as a representative. Now you're is this your 3rd term?
Actually, it feels like it's been a while, but no, it's only my 2nd.
Really?
Feels longer.
I guess my math.
When you're bold, when you're so bold and you're courageous, people, you feel like you're getting a lot done when somebody's
so that's right,
a seat
because
filler for 20 years.
You would have only been in there when Darren. I get it. You would have only been in there when Darren was state senator, and
yes.
So because you have to count for that. So and I know that I've kind of jokingly said this to you. Did I just lose Adam?
I had somebody trying to call. Nope. I had a phone call come in.
I was
my
like,
cell phone because my.
No,
nope,
I get
I'm
you.
here.
No, it happens. It happened to Shostokis last week. And we had him on this camera.
Yeah, his granddaughter.
His granddaughter was texting him while he was on it.
I've been getting texts, and I was hoping they're not popping up.
No, they're not popping up. I don't know what
the deal was with my. Okay, good.
No, they're not popping up.
We no plans to leave. That was actually my dad just called me. He's retired now, so he's since he sold his candle company. But it's really, to be honest with you, David, I'm a person that you never would have expected to win a race. I had zero. I listened to Rush Limbaugh my whole life. I was a huge Rush baby, and my family's always been very political. We sit at the dining room table and talk politics. And my dad was always, if you want to be successful in life, if you want to be in business, do anything, you need to know what's going on. So I've always been that way, but I never thought I'd take that next step. But then, Kelly Cassidy ran that reproductive health care law, and I got really upset with it because I'm very pro-life. And then I saw Darren decide to run for Senate, and I talked to my wife, and I said, I think we need to do this. And we did pray on it a lot, and ultimately came to that decision. But as a newcomer politically, it was drinking from a fire hydrant. It was really something. And I'm just a claims adjuster from Southeast Illinois, working a normal job, trying to make a go of it, and somehow I worked my tail off and just made this happen. So That's why I'm so bold. That's why I do things the way I do things. I speak on the floor. I debate the bills. I put forward legislation that I believe in, and I don't shy away from it. You're going to see, folks, you're going to see a lot of people that will talk in their districts, right? And then you look at their voting record and you go, well, that's not so great. And then you look at their bills and you say, why aren't they running these bills that these other guys are talking? Or why aren't they even co-sponsoring these bills? Because they don't want to. They don't want any controversy. They want to coast. They want to put the cruise control on, and they want special interests to take care of them.
Well, it's good to have you in the state house. And obviously you live in the free part of Illinois, because believe it or not, there is somewhat of a free part of Illinois. You get below I-80, not too far below pretty far below I-80, because now I think they've even moved it below I-74, because they've tried to gather up Champaign County, McLean County, Peoria County. They when they remapped, which obviously you were part of, they cut out certain areas where they thought they could gain some control of a House seat or a Senate seat. They did that here in McLean County, the 91st by Sharon Chung. I think we're going back live again. 10, 15 seconds. Here we go. We're going to go back live. So I want to get your insight on the Illinois Freedom Caucus going forward. I used to have hearing in my left ear. Am I live, Kevin? I don't know. I can't hear anything.
Oh, we're live? Okay.
My ears are still ringing. Kevin, we came in hot again. Man alive. You got to give me forewarn me about that.
Well, I have to David, it's a fast-paced show, it's everything I do has to be a little fast-paced. So, I mean, if we want to we're keeping up on Facebook, or keeping up on Rumble, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. And I got to cut your audio from the radio so you can keep talking to everybody and keep talking to Adam.
Well, I won't be able to take a nap now. I think I've been shocked into awakeness. I'm
It'd
fully
be a good
awake.
day.
Yes.
It's raining. It'd be a great day for a nap.
Well, you know what, Adam, and I'm glad that you pointed that out, because our audience needs to know that I said, look up in the sky. What is that falling for the first time in many weeks here in central Illinois? I don't know how it is in Effingham County, but we have been very dry. So this is very welcoming. Under the Trump administration, the Trump economy, it was $1 million rain, but under the Biden economy, it's a $10 million rain.
Well, it must be inflationary. I don't know. But yeah, no, we really needed the rain. We did, and I'm very, very happy. We had some a little bit on Wednesday, but it wasn't near enough. So I'm seeing the crops are starting to pop already just in the last couple hours. So it's looking really, really good.
We are thankful for that rain, and hopefully get a little bit more. So before we went to break, Adam, we were talking about the Illinois Freedom Caucus. We've already established those things, as Kevin said, the serenity prayer. We have to work on the things we can change. We can't spend our time talking about things we absolutely have no control over. Right now, I believe that the Republican Party, the Illinois Freedom Caucus, needs to set a line in the sand, or draw a line in the sand for a year out, whether that's 2030, whether that's 2032, 2034, where we truly make an impact, where we at least draw to a point where it's more balanced in the state house and the state senate, where it's such super minorities. So how do we go about doing that over election cycles?
I think that's a very, very good point and a great question, and it's something that quite frankly we have been doing. There has been a tremendous amount of progress. When we started the Illinois Freedom Caucus, there were just 5 of us, and we had our conservative brand that we were working on, and we were pushing a conservative narrative, and it was reaching out to a tremendous amount of folks throughout the state. We had Darren's run for governor going on at the same time, the grassroots movement. And this movement, guys, stay active. You're the reason this stuff is happening. I could sit here and just speak at the state house, sit on the floor, and nothing. I mean, you guys are the ones that are making it happen. Without your support, without your help, without you listening in, without you spreading the conservative message, we're not going to be able to win anything. So I first off want to say thank you so very much. But we have made progress. We started the Freedom Caucus a little over a year ago, and we've grown it. We have 2 members, 2 new members, David Freeze and Jed Davis. Jed Davis was a good member to pick up because he won a primary, and that was something where we made a lot of progress in getting Jed in that seat, because before it wasn't a very a very conservative representative that was in that particular seat. Some bad votes were made, and Jed will not make those votes. But pushing what we're doing in Springfield is very important, and I just want everybody to understand. We see what's happening throughout the state of Illinois, and you want to, gosh, we're not making progress. But the inside baseball from Freedom Caucus, from what we're doing, is yes, we're making progress, because we're making progress in our own party. Now, there's two things happening there. Whenever we have a policy position that we're taking, folks know what's happening. They kind of look at the way we vote. Okay, so when we put 7 no votes on the board, typically we draw about 15 or 20, when we would only have 5 a year and a half ago. So we're drawing these votes in. And also on Senate analysis, get this, guys, on Senate analysis, there is a line item, Freedom Caucus. So not only in the House are we making progress with representatives, but there is a line item on Senate analysis that says Freedom Caucus vote. So the senators are watching this going, well, where are these guys at? Because if this is going to be the North Star of conservatism, we want to follow what these guys are doing. So we've seen a lot more red over in the Senate. But also, folks will say, well, Adam, you can't be so bold. You can't be so courageous. You can't be fighting with the Dems all the time. You have to have this collaborative environment to get things done. And then we find this slippery slope that we end up, the left keeps going further left, and then we kind of go along with them, and then we forget who we are, right? You can do that. We can do that. And I'm doing that as a Freedom Caucus member. I have no issues walking across the other side of the aisle and talking and working my bill. See, I had a bill to strengthen children that are victims of sexual assault get through. I got it called in Jude Crim, and I got some really leftist Dems to sign up on it. Why? Because I walked over, and Jude Crim is a very difficult committee to get anything out of. Republican bills just aren't heard in this committee, and I was able to do this. The reason I was able to do this is because I walked over and worked my bill. I directly went and worked my bill. There is a difference between go along, get along politics and working a bill, because I still walked over, still had the conversation, and they knew when I came back, if there was a bill that popped up that person that I was asking, hey, can we talk about this? They knew that I'd hit my speak button and go right at them. And you can still do that. So, to everybody out there that says go along to get along, you got to play ball, you got to do this. Well, look at where we are. Has that gotten us anywhere? We have the most radical taxes. Everything's going downhill so fast.
Well, the old Bongino line, if Democrat control has changed things, or it works, then why isn't it working? I mean, we're not seeing progress, even under the progressive movement, which is doing little incremental things over and over and over, constantly doing things to think you're advancing the cause. Well, it's not getting better. The city of Chicago is not getting better. Our state budget's not getting better. The roads in Illinois aren't getting better. Nothing is really getting better. Hey, Adam, how do they get in contact with the Illinois Freedom Caucus? How can they be part of this movement? I can tell you, full disclosure, I am an honorary member. I don't know what that's called. Is it called? Because I gave a donation, so I got a pin that says,
you got your pin.
I got my
Freedom
pin.
Caucus. Yep.
So I'm in with the Freedom Caucus.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So how can our audience get involved?
I want to get my pin.
Go on Facebook. Yeah, we'll get you one. Heck yeah. You go on Facebook, Illinois Freedom Caucus. Just type that in on Facebook, Illinois Freedom Caucus, at Illinois Freedom Caucus on Twitter. If you want to follow me, it's Adam Niemberg for State Representative on Facebook, on Twitter, Adam Niemberg State Rep. And just get plugged in, guys. If you need anything from us, let us know. But we're the North Star of conservatism here in the state of Illinois.
And also, to give a plug for Adam's wife, Trina, she has a Facebook page called Campaign Wife, right? Is that correct?
Thank you, David. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yes, Campaign Wife Life. It's on Facebook. And then we're also, she's so good on these, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever, anything, we're on it. So but it's Campaign Wife Life on Facebook.
And I love that, Adam, because to get the perspective of someone that's getting the other side of it, that's not out there trying to work their bill on the floor, but you're probably working your wife when you get home and you're telling her about all of the goings on, which has got to be maddening. Where does she vent? Where does she release? So it's good that she went after this thing, and said, hey, I'm putting forth my own page, because other people need to know what is happening behind the scenes in the lives of these representatives, whether that's on the Democrat side or the Republican side, because I'm assuming it happens on both sides of the aisle, right?
Well, yeah, but we're right and they're wrong. Just
Well,
that's
well, we will
they got it
always be
right.
right, and they are left. They are left. Well, thank you, my friend, for joining us here. We're going to do this again soon because we want to have that voice of common sense and reason, bringing us up to speed what the Illinois Freedom Caucus is doing. You are a true American patriot, and we're thankful to have you representing the Republican Party in Springfield. And who knows, some days I made a prediction. I am fully on board with Adam for governor in, well, I thought originally I said 2026, but no, I don't think I'd wish that upon him until we get this thing kind of righted a little bit. But maybe 2030 for Adam as the governor of Illinois.
Boy.
Adam, don't get too stressed out. DPB puts up everybody for different, like Stephanie Trussell is now going to be the new chairman of the Illinois GOP, and he puts people every time he has a guest on. There's a new role that he's assigning.
I only do that because you notice that I never put myself up for any of those offices. I've tried it. It didn't work for me. Look at Adam. He's one and done. He's still there. He's been successful. He's won 2 elections. Hey, Adam.
Done, yeah.
That's right. Well, we appreciate you and thank you again. And we're going to have you back on soon on the DPB show, and we'll definitely check in with you from time to time so we can get more insight to what's happening under the dome in the land of make believe, or the land of Lincoln, which is what it used to be called.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
All right. Thank you. Hey, we're going to continue this conversation because I know I want to make sure we give Kevin an opportunity, obviously my producer and also the host of Speechless, to give a plug for Riley Gaines. She is going to be interviewed the entirety. It's about a 30-minute, 40-minute interview, Kevin?
Yeah. Just took myself out of program there we go. Yeah, so I got her and I, she was so gracious with her time and everything. I sat down and talked to her for about 35 minutes this last week and on Tuesday, and so she sat down with me and talked about everything under the sun when it comes to her activism, going on college campuses and just being a voice to protect women's sports. Because obviously we've seen a significant amount of biological men. For anybody who does not know, Riley Gaines is a 12-time All-American NCAA swimmer. She used to swim for the University of Kentucky. Now she has been all over the place, going to different college campuses and everything, talking to people about this infestation that is biological men coming into women's sports. And so it's a great interview. She even talks about her endorsement for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for president, and why him over other candidates. I ask her flat out. So it's a great interview. Definitely make sure you're checking me out on YouTube, Speechless with Kev Ferris. It's also going to be on Cities 92.9's Facebook and Twitter. My YouTube, Rumble, and Twitch, Speechless with Kev Ferris, last name Phares. Sounds like Ferris Bueller, spelled radically differently, but it seems like DPB now has his guest back in studio. So,
see, thank you for covering for me.
Of course.
I appreciate that. Every now and again, once again, live radio, you never know what's going to happen. It's a weekend, it's Sunday. We're around here in studio. We don't have a full-time door person on the weekends here at Great Plains Media. However, Kevin is adjusting the camera, and look at there's Chuck Erickson. And so I asked Chuck to come in to studio, and I know you want me to go ahead and flip the mics. Chuck, you're gonna get that mic, and I'm gonna get this mic. And okay. Hey, wow, I have a mic.
I'm here.
All right, and you are
Can you hear me now?
You are in camera. I mean, you can come a little closer to me, Chuck, if you feel you want to be in the camera. And I didn't say closer to the mic, but
okay.
Does this work for you? So you guys know him, you love him. That's Chuck Erickson, county board member, attorney at law here in the Bloomington Normal area and McLean County. But Chuck, the reason I wanted you to come in was this: Trump indictment number 2 now. Actually, I don't know how many times we're going to see.
Well, this is his first federal one. So it was originally just in the state of New York before. Now it's a federal one, which makes it bigger. I mean, Chuck can talk about it more.
Yeah, well, he is the attorney. I was going to say,
I'm
hold on, Chuck, because Kevin's getting a little cocky over there.
I took the LSAT.
He took the LSAT 2
There you
days ago.
go.
So isn't that all you need to become a lawyer these
Well,
days?
that's a good start.
You got to at least take the test.
It's a good start,
Being licensed to practice law. I always defer to practicing law to attorneys because I think it's better that way.
Well, I should be careful. I'm not an expert on federal criminal law. Okay. But, I mean, you can see the politics of it all. And the politics of it all, as I'm sure you've already said. Where's my mic going here?
Well, I'm trying to get it to your mouth, and you keep moving your mouth.
Well,
you're a side talker, Chuck.
That's what radio is. It's just moving your mouth.
That's right.
All right. Well,
move your mouth into the microphone.
I mean, when you got the DOJ engaging in what is arguably a political prosecution of a political opponent, I mean, I don't know how else you can look at it. And I mean, that's the way you have to look at it. And I don't even know if the charges will stick. I mean, it's, the one that's filed in New York didn't sound like it's a very strong case. They just want to bring it about primary time so they can embarrass Trump.
Well, and that's what I want to talk about when we come back from break, and we'll be wrapping the show up after break. Because, Chuck, when it comes to all things law, you have to stand on evidence. You stand on facts, and there's no precedence that Trump did anything wrong, but yet for some reason it's all about Trump. I do believe that we are now seeing fully played out in front of our eyes election interference and a two-tier judicial system. So we're going to talk more about that when we come back from break with our very own local contributing attorney, county board member, Chuck Erickson. You can sit up in your chair a little bit.
All right. Well,
you get higher.
There
you go.
That's good. We got him recognized. Oh, Alice is listening. Good.
She loves it when Chuck. All right, we're on. She loves it when Chuck. No, Chuck, I told her that.
Had to remind me that I got to get dog food after this.
Chuck's got to get Shakira food. How much food does Shakira eat in a month? How many?
It depends.
What size bag do you buy for Shakira? Like, I'm thinking, have you ever seen Shakira, Kevin?
I have not seen Shakira. Oh, I mean, you the singer, Hips Don't Lie singer?
Well, yeah. I mean, she's named after the singer, but 6.5 pounds of pure Chihuahua terror.
Which she almost took Chuck's arm off yesterday when he woke her up in her slumber.
Yeah.
She's getting at the age now that she's sleeping so hard. Then Chuck tries to get her up to go to the restroom, and she
gives me the look.
She gave him the look. But Shakira's not a very big dog. So I mean, what do you get, the small bag? You don't get. I get the Bella bag. I have to have somebody assist me carrying it out of the food. The pet.
No, I can carry
supply.
Shakira's food out on my own.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy.
All right, Chuck. Well, obviously, I don't know if you've heard any of the DPB show today, but you can stay tuned for the Kevin Ferris show. Shakira, hey, Kevin, by the way, Shakira listens to 92.9.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She does. I have the radio on for her, man, so she can have some.
To 92.9.
She's a conservative dog.
Yeah.
I mean, she prefers 92.
So
have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard
6.5
that
pounds
song? Have you ever heard that song? I think my dog's a Democrat.
Oh, no.
No, I'll
tell me that. Don't tell me my dog's a Democrat.
No, it's really funny because it's all about. I gotta find the lyrics here. We got a few minutes here. I could pull it up real quick. I think my dog's
a conservative.
No, so here's the lyrics to it. I think it's so funny. So, I think my dog's a Democrat and it breaks my heart. I pay for all his health care and I buy everything he eats. I provide him with a place to live just to keep him off the streets. But he acts like he's entitled. He even tried to unionize the cat. I think my dog's a Democrat.
Ryan McKenzie on the chat says Kevin is right. That song is best. All right. Okay, here we go. I think
we got a minute.
We got a minute. Hey, Kev, I don't know if we could segue into this thing, but I'd like to I pulled that Bongino clip for a reason at the 5-minute mark.
Yep, I got that right there for you.
Oh, good. I think we might come back with that, just to like 30 seconds of that. I want
Chuck
to comment.
Start it with no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just start it at 5 minutes. I think we're right. I think it's right there.
Yeah, it is. I have it at 5 minutes right there. So
okay. I think I've timed this right, and I might not. If I missed it, I missed it. I love his t-shirts, man. He does have quality t-shirts. I don't have Dan Bongino's money though.
Hey, that's what I can tell you. I mean, I get those t-shirts.
Yeah,
you
Kevin,
see me. I get
Kevin,
mine.
but you're young enough. You could have Dan Bongino's money. You
Eventually, not today.
Oh, Tulsi Gabbard. He's got a quote. I love it. Well, we're going to have a couple. Here we come, Kevin.
Okay. Yep, I know. We're coming back. Get ready for your ears, David.
All right. I'm ready. I don't want to get, I'm going to pull it out like that.
There you go.
Glenn Beck follows our very own Cat Peterson. He just said it on the announcement. I love it. I'm gonna get somebody like Dan Bongino to say that he listens to the DPB show every Sunday from 1 to 3.
You got to get those. I had Charlie Kirk say it for me one time.
How do I get? It's kind of like Batman or the Joker said about Batman. How do I get some of those toys, those tools? How do I get these major contributors making statements about this lonely old?
I know you're stuck with Chuck Erickson popping in here at 2:45.
That's right. I get Chuck at 2:45 before we're off air. Hey, we're gonna run real quick because we're gonna go to the clip. This is Bongino on Friday's show. If you haven't heard it, go out and listen to this episode. But I think I've timed this right, but go ahead and play it.
The police state's not coming.
Hold on.
Sorry, that's my bad.
He's gonna try it again.
I'm new to say. I wanted to make sure it didn't play over you talking at one point. So.
Guys, they celebrated looking like bad guys because it scared the shit out of everyone else. And that's what the tyrant wants, man.
I can dump it.
The police state's not coming. It's here. We're out of time. No more dicking around. Cutesy time is over. You ever see Sum of All Fears? I wish I could use the piece from the movie, but I couldn't find it. Never see that movie, Sum of All Fears, where Ben Affleck plays Jack Ryan and Russia and the United States? You've seen where they're going at it with a strike and a counter strike and they're about to hit nuclear war. And a guy's like, wait, we should wait for the first strike. And the guy's like, there's already been a first strike.
There you go. Hit it right there. You know, Chuck, I mean, how long are we going to sit back and allow these folks to just tee off on us? You know, I liked Stephanie Trussell, what she said. Sorry about that. If any of our audience heard that, I think we caught it in time, didn't we, Kevin?
I think I hit the dump button.
Well, you know, Dan Bongino on his podcast, just FYI, he uses some colorful language. Obviously, yours truly, that's not my forte. Like I said, I think words matter. And he obviously is a very passionate guy. But here we are. We're at a point, and Stephanie Trussell said it best. When are we on the Republican side going to stop taking full facial assaults by the Democrats? And that's what this is, right? I mean, this indictment of Trump has nothing to do with the law. It has everything to do with interfering, once again, in a presidential election.
Well, I'm sure they think it has something to do with the law. I mean, I suppose it has to have some good faith basis in what they think is the law. That doesn't mean that they have the evidence to prove it or ever will. I mean, you could bring a prosecution and, dismiss it at the last second or not go through with it because you don't think you have the evidence. I mean, I don't know if they have the evidence or not. I mean, I'm pretty confident that it's a political prosecution because that's what all these have been. I mean, it's just one right after another. I like what Tulsi Gabbard said. And it's just like, well, if you're going to go after Trump, you got to go after everybody. You got to apply the law equally to everybody, because if it's not applied equally to everyone, then it's not fair. That's not the rule of law. That's not how you have democracy. So,
well, but the point being, and I think Bongino makes a great point, in this,
I couldn't hear him though.
Well, I mean, you've got to go listen to this episode because he just comes out of the gate and says, guys, they are moving rapidly towards, we saw it with the school board thing, right? The National Association of School Boards put forth a letter challenging Merrick Garland to do something against the parents in these school board meetings, rather than taking and that's the weaponization of a federal agency. He also says in the context of this show, I'll try to get this out quickly for our audience, and thank you once again for always tuning in here at Cities 92.9. He says it best. Biden will come on and say, well, I didn't tell the DOJ to indict Trump, or I didn't tell Jack Smith. Well, here's the thing. You're going to do a pickoff move at first base, right? You don't have to, the manager doesn't have to tell the first baseman that he needs to apply a tag to the runner in a pickoff move, right? It's the unspoken thing. They have got such a rhythm of doing what they're doing. They did it through the Trump collusion debacle, the hoax, whatever you want to call it, and now they're just continuing to duplicate over and over again, which goes to show you that anybody can bring charges against someone.
Well, if we get to a point where people don't have confidence in the legal system, we're really going to have a lot of problems, because that's usually I don't want to say the court of last resort, no pun intended, but that's generally where you go to get it resolved. I mean, and if people are not feeling comfortable there, we're going to have really, really, really big problems in this country. We have to have the rule of law. I mean, you've got to have a society based on the rule of law, or it's just not going to function very well. With people having confidence in those institutions.
Well, obviously,
Let me say quickly, you do have in law called jury nullification, and you could have a huge jury nullification in November of 2024. I mean,
that would be a jury nullification.
I mean, not that he's been convicted, but the jury just saying, we're not paying attention to that.
Well, and you know what? And that, unfortunately, that's the case that I think that we face or the situation that we're facing is people are getting so sick and tired of all of this that it isn't beneficial to this constitutional republic we live in. Well, I can hear the music playing. That means we are at the end of the show again. Once again, appreciate you. We're going to continue to roll this out. Don't go away. Don't turn the dial, as the old saying goes, because Kevin Ferris and Speechless will be coming up next. Riley Gaines, you get to hear the interview in its entirety. Come back. It's Father's Day weekend next week. I'm going to do a live show on Father's Day, believe it or not, because that's what I think a father should do. It's not about a day of people doing things for me. It's about me doing things for you, because that's what I think I'm called to. Hey, until next week, the DPB show is signing out. Peace, love, and happiness.